So I saw the words like that they're confident they will retain George Pickens. But I swear I also saw they have not spoken to George Pickens or his people yet, which I'm like, man, there's the Cowboys that I know. Because I've always told you guys, trust in Jerry. You know, I'm a big believer in trust in Jerry. My Hall of Fame general manager, like, let his coach do a nice little coaching search for the defensive coordinator. That's nice. Aaron Whitecotton's going to be coaching somewhere else, and I don't know what if he didn't get that job. It sounds like they empowered their new defensive coordinator to let people go anyway, even if they had multiple years left. That's not a normal Jerry Jones thing. So he was willing to pay for that. He was willing to let the coach do his search. He was willing to hire a guy that before this cycle he'd probably never heard of. My guy's on a heater. But then I got confident they will retain George Pickens. And then I saw over here, haven't talked to him or his representatives. And I was like, okay, that's the Cowboys I know.
The first things first. And the first things first for the Cowboys right now is the coordinator and hiring the staff. And that's what they're focused on. And again, the good news is they basically letting Parker, which we talked about yesterday, hire his guys. And Whitecotton has 2 years left on his contract. And initially, before this whole process began, they told Whitecotton, we're blocking you. Then after they hired Parker, they said, hey, we're not blocking you to a certain extent. And so they could have blocked him from going to Tennessee as the run game coordinator and defensive line coach, because that's not necessarily a move up. It's a lateral move. And, clearly Whitecotton liked it here, but also like working with Robert Saleh, and so the Cowboys allowed him to move, and they want to get their own guys for defense, and which is what you want them to be able to do with Parker. But regarding the Pickens thing, Stephen just talking to media at the Senior Bowl said, yeah, we're confident that we're going to get everybody back on offense. We're confident. We feel good about that. The difference between Pickens and Javonte Williams is they control Pickens because they got the franchise tag. They don't necessarily control Javonte Williams, but he highlighted both of them as guys that they want to bring back in free agency, but they're not focused on free agency right now. They're focused on the hiring process, certainly with the coaches. But I guess just to piggyback on Parker, because we talked about, what they have in Washington. The Cowboys like Parker, and I guess they're betting on his upside, but also betting on his smarts. One thing that Steven and Will both talked about was how smart he was. A young guy, he needs to be smart, right? Certainly they like the fact he worked under Vince Fangio and some guys he worked under, but he's very smart. Steven talked about he's a great communicator, which at the end of the day was one of our top priorities. These defenses are very complicated. He was very good explaining what he wants to do, how he wants to run the scheme, even with their guys, to Schottenheimer, but also to Jerry and Steven. He made it plain with Jerry and Steven. If Jerry can understand defense, then I think Trayvon Diggs can understand the cover two by now, okay? So that was the issue, right? They couldn't understand the cover two of the Matt Eberflus, but this guy is allowed and be able to communicate and explain it so well that Jerry and Steven understands the coverages and how he wants to play.
Yeah, just to know, Clarence, I'm holding on to that quote right there when we get to November of next year. If I hear anything about, communication and confusion, I'm going to say, wait a minute now. This is a man who from the front office said that they were able to explain to them to. And those guys who I know, Jerry, half the time don't know what the hell is going on. And they were able to get that off. So you're right. There should be no excuse for the players on the football field. And on the George Pickens front, yeah, they have the franchise tag, right? That's always in their back pocket. So for them, it's the old Cowboy way. We don't have to move right now because we know that when it comes franchise time, we can just slap that on them, and then we can kind of methodically work through the contracts as we get through the offseason. But you're right, Jeff. They are doing some things that make them look like they're moving differently. But show us, man, like really, really sell out to this being different thing, man, and really give your football team a chance to eliminate the distractions in the offseason, sign the necessary players, get everything that you need to get under the cap so you can spend that money in free agency, bro. Like, that's where this team has to be.
The problem is that they are moving different, but not different enough so far for you, Jesse, and for most people, right? But they are moving different. This whole process is different, but it's not enough.
No, right? It's not enough. Like, this alone is not enough. It's absolutely not enough.
Yeah, but they are moving different. We can say that this is how they handle the coaching thing is different. Now do more.
You guys are welcome, because I don't know if the fan base realizes this, but the reason they're doing things the right way is because I've been on Jerry's neck. Okay. That's why. So you're all welcome. It took someone to be willing to talk about that man to get everything done right. Okay. And now we're on the case.